Good morning. Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. It says we're live. So here we are. Welcome to another week. Hope you're having a good morning if you're in Europe, or if you're across the pond, you may still be sleeping and catch this later. So, welcome, everyone. Happy Tuesday again. Our topic today is opening up conversations, can open up possibilities. So this is something that I really love talking about, and it came up this week for me. And in fact, this is how this the topic for this talk came up was during a conversation I was having with a friend and colleague. We were chatting about things, and as we chatted, new things came up, new possibilities came up, new opportunities came up. And from where we started the conversation to where we ended the conversation were two totally different places. And it was just amazing to see how we, as my friend beautifully put it, co-created the conversation and co-created the possibilities that came into that conversation. And I'm sure you've all experienced this at some time. You may be starting off a conversation with a friend about something, anything about, you start off with the weather, like I did this morning, good morning, happy Tuesday, and obviously it grows and develops from there. And especially if you're having a dialogue with somebody, or if you're in communication with more than one people, let's say a small group of people, you start bouncing off ideas, and as they say something, it triggers something else in your mind, and then you have something else to say, and that triggers something else in somebody else's mind. And so we start this conversation, and it starts to evolve, it starts to grow, it starts to change, and it may come out in a completely different topic to where you started from. And this is not unusual in conversation, but I think it's actually quite magical. Oops, let me just not throw that around. I think it's actually quite magical to have that kind of flow happen, and all these things evolve from a conversation. So this is why I think it's really important that we kind of re-look at what communication and conversations really mean between ourselves and between others, and between ourselves and our dogs as well. So let's have a look at something. Let's say you have a thought about your dog. You see your dog doing something. I'm just, gonna say, I see my dog scratching, and I see, oh, she's been scratching more than usual at the moment. I wonder what that is. And I could, look at it and think, start thinking about things around that. I wonder what's happened lately. Has she, is there more allergens? It's summer, and I know she has grass allergens. She's been out in the grass. Is it something that she's eaten? Is it something energetic that she's picking up from me? Have I been, really irritated or too stressed? Because I often see that in her. I see that she mirrors stuff like that. And so we can get into a conversation in our heads with ourselves. But what we're doing when we do that is only looking through our own personal filters. So we're only looking at things that we are preconceived ideas that we have had, notions that we've experiences that we've had. So I know that she's allergic to some food types, and I know that she has allergies for grass, seeds and things like that, some grasses. So straight away, that's where my mind goes, okay? Because it's my filter, it's my experience that I've had with her, with my dog, with previous dogs, etc. So we look at things through our own filter, and we start to make stories around that. So we start to build on those stories, and they start to become deeper and more rounded, more grounded, get more details. And sometimes if you have a little bit of anxiety or worry, like most of us do, these stories can then evolve into something really uncomfortable. They can start to bring up all sorts of fears in us. This is coming back. What am I going to do? I have to go to the vet. I'm going to have to change her diet again. This is all a lot of effort. I'm going to have to, bath her every time we come back from walks, etc., etc. And it can go down these roads of all sorts of difficulties and fears and discomfort until we have got ourselves in a complete knot about it. And that's simply because we're having a conversation with ourselves through our own filters, through our own experiences. But if I were to reach out to a friend or to a colleague or to a nutritionist, trainer, vet, friend, whatever it is, I may be able to open a completely different door. I may be able to have a completely different conversation that brings up all other possibilities of what that itch could be. All right. Or if it's even something to be concerned about, or perhaps it's just, that she's lying on that blanket right now and there was a tick or a flea or something that jumped on her. I mean, the possibilities are endless. And we can make it into a huge, as I say, mountain of trouble, or we can make it, or it could be something really simple. But by opening a conversation with somebody around that, it can help me to feel at ease. It can help open up a whole lot of possibilities that are not necessarily the negative, heavy possibilities that our minds may have made up stories around. And then it becomes easier for us to cope with that, to deal with that, to understand that. And we know this. We know very often that if we reach out for help and ask for help, that very often things turn out to be much better. But we sometimes have fears of opening up. We have fears of reaching out to people. And that could be because we may think, well, I should know this. I should know everything. I've trained for this. I've done this all. Why on earth would I need to reach out for help? I've been doing this for years. I should know the answers to this and I should know what to do. Or we could have a filter that says, I'm going to have a fear of being judged. Maybe my question sounds silly, sounds stupid. Maybe people think whinging and whining and complaining all the time. Maybe people think, I have a fear of being judged about what I'm going to say or what I'm going to ask or what people might think of me when I say this. And so again, that prevents us perhaps from reaching out and opening up those conversations. But then we need to weigh up the pros and cons. If I don't open that conversation, I stay in my head, I stay in my own thoughts and my own filters, and it generally could go a negative direction. Or if I put down those fears and put them aside and say, what are the possibilities and what are the opportunities and what are the positives that will happen if I open up that conversation? And generally it outweighs what the other side of it. So don't be afraid when you feel your head going and spinning, etc. Reach out, say, who can I reach out to? Who can show me a different perspective? Who else's filters can I pass this through so that it's not just my own filters coming from such a singular place? Because everything happens in relation. Everything that is created in relation with others and in conversations. That's where it's created. It's not just a thought that pops into your head and that's the end of that. It grows. It may pop into your head to start with, but then it grows and it develops as we are in relation and communication with others. So this is this is my message today, is to start to think about how you can open up conversations with other people when you feel like things are starting to feel heavy in your head. All right, so don't get into thought spins. Reach out and open communications, open with. So I've written here, a curious mindset as well, because so now I'm going to switch to our dogs. Okay, conversations with our dogs. Often we have the same thing. We have our own filters. We have preconceived ideas of what that breed type should do, or I've been living with this dog for 6, 10, 5 years, whatever it is. I think I know my dog backwards. I think I know what they like and what they don't like. But we know as people, we change. We change as we evolve, as we grow. And our likes and our dislikes from when we were a young child are very different often to what our likes and dislikes are now. So we forget that our filters, again, need to be changed, to be open, to be curious about things, so that we can see those different perspectives, so that we not have blinkers on and close those doors and put ourselves in a box and put our dogs in a box of this is what it should look like, this is what it's always been like, this is who they are. put that aside. I'm asking you, I'm inviting you to just go in there with completely fresh eyes, completely fresh perspective, knowing that anything is possible, all opportunities are possible. If we're there, if we're fully present, if we're open-minded, and and just, let go of those old filters that we're so used to having around there. So I'm just going to see if there's any comments or anybody watching here. I can't see anything on my computer here at the moment. Morning, Tracy. Great. Lovely to have you here. Thank you for jumping on. Yeah, so that's, for me, that's the basis of the conversation. So I'd like to give you just like one example to think about. And this happened recently, but it's such a common one. Is I heard from a person whose dog is pretty reactive, and easily aroused, over aroused by certain things, lots of barking, growling, lunging at people and dogs, etc. And this dog happened to go into somebody's care for a weekend because he had to be looked after while the guardians went away. And the person who was looking after their dog, their partner, didn't know anything about the dog, didn't know who he was, what he was, whatever. It was like, oh, just another dog we sort of house sitting, or sitting for the weekend. And he went about quite as normal, like he would with any new dog, giving it space, giving it time, giving it, reading his body language, etc., and just feeling his way into it. And didn't know any of the history of the dog, so had no filters of what was happening. And to the astonishment of the person who was looking after the dog, this dog never reacted once to their partner. Never reacted, never showed any of growly reactive behavior, was fine in this person's presence. And she was quite astounded by this. And it's not the first time I've heard this. In fact, I've heard this over and over and over again. And I've experienced it myself. Sometimes when I get a new client, we as behave... Oh, excuse me one second. As behaviorists and dog trainers, we like to get as much detail as possible about the dog, which is obviously wise. We need to make an educated assumption on what may be challenging for the person and the dog. But again, we come in with our own filters. So we're hearing information, but we're coming in with our own filters, our own experience of what's happened in the past, and all the things we've learned about the dog, all the things we've learned about dogs in general, about behavior. And so again, we come in with our own filters. And sometimes it's happened that I have had very little information to go on in the beginning. And so I go into that first appointment with that person with a completely open mindset, because I don't know what to see. I don't know what to expect. And very often the guardian will say, wow, she's so different with you than where she is with me or with other people. And people think, well, that's because I'm a dog trainer. And sometimes people think dog trainers have this magic essence about them that every dog should love them, etc. It's simply not true. It's simply not true. It's often perhaps we can read dogs better, so we act perhaps a bit different around dogs. But generally, there's no difference between me and you. And so the essence of that was that it's very often that if we go in there with an open mind and open curiosity and no preconceived ideas, the dog may respond to us in a very different way, because we're not coming in with those thoughts and that energy of who that dog is, what they've done, how they react, and how they behave. We don't know that, so we're coming in with a completely blank slate and just listening with all of our senses. Who is this being? What do they need in this moment, right now, from me, to make them feel safe, to make them feel comfortable, to support them in whatever way? So I find that a fascinating phenomena, that is not just, it's not even, just in the human dog world, it's in any animal world, or even human to human. If I go in and meet somebody that I've never met before and I have no idea of any of their history, of who they are or what they are, I might, respond to them in a completely different way to what their family does, or to people who know them well. And so this is where I think the magic can really happen, is if we start to rediscover our dogs in a completely different way, trying to put aside those filters that we know, or the relationships that have gone through in the past and have led to this moment with our dogs, or other people with the dogs, etc. And just say, who are you today? Who are you right now? Who are you in this moment? And how can I meet you there and support you? And how can we open up a conversation and find out about each other, about what you're feeling today, or how you are today, or who you are today. So just curiosity, I guess, curiosity and openness of something completely different. Hi Liz, lovely to have you here. Thank you for joining us. So who's had an experience like that, whether it be with a person or with a dog or with any other animal in their life, has had that experience where putting down your filters and putting down your expectations and putting down your preconceived ideas can give you a whole new picture about that person, about that or about that animal, and how they respond to us in a different way. So, if we could go into every single conversation like this with openness, curiosity, I wonder what could happen. I wonder what could unfold from our interaction today. And just be fully present and be listening with all your senses, listening with your, not just what you see, but what you hear, what you feel, what you can sense about that person or that being or that dog. What gives you that information about them? And then you try to open up that dialogue, that conversation with your dog. And you could offer something, you could say something, you could offer them to come in towards you, you could offer to go in a certain direction, you could offer to do a certain activity with them, and then pause and watch their response, and pause and feel, what are they getting from you? Do they understand you? Do they know what you want? And if not, can you make it more clear? Can you use your body language differently? Can you use your words and your thoughts differently? Can you use your intention in a different way? And what does your dog do then? How do they respond to that? Because our dogs truly can have conversations with us. And I'm not just talking about the telepathic kind that many of I know of you here can do beautifully. I'm talking about just tapping in with all your senses and having a dialogue with another being, trying to figure it out, just like you would perhaps with somebody whose language you didn't know. You want to get to know them, you want directions, you need something, and you kind of figure it out. You work it out. If you really need to, you'll work out how to communicate with that person. So this is just not very different. You're just opening up a conversation with your dog and figuring it out, how to pass on what your message is, or to interpret what they are telling you, and just have fun with it. There's no right or wrong. There's no this should be like this or it shouldn't be like this. It's just fun. It's just exploration, because that's where the opportunities come up. That's where the ideas pop into your head. So let me try this. Maybe let's see what this does. Let's see how this works. Let's see how my dog responds to that. And then pausing and listening about their response. How does that feel? What does that mean? Does it mean more? Does it mean less? Does it mean stop? Hey Tina, lovely to see you here. Thank you. Tracy says, we definitely put our baggage on our dogs regarding their old behavior. Yes. I'm finding that with Dylan now, he's fine in situations that still trigger me. I am slowly working through it and maybe starting to see the dog in front of me in the moment. Beautiful, Tracy. So yes, I think dogs can get over things or release things a lot quicker than we can. We as humans, again, tend to be too much in our heads and tend to stay there and, wallow in some of the things that carry on for months, years, etc., where our dogs can heal and move on from things really, really quickly if we allow them, if we give them the space to do that, and if we don't hold them in this preconceived idea of their old behavior. So thank you for that, Tracy. Yes. It's much easier to be curious about dogs than people we don't know well. True, true, very true. So those relationships that are a little bit further away from us, um, it's much easier to be curious. Who are you? Let's come into that. But people who we have history with, people who we have deep relationships with, people who we have a lot of, that we live closely with, it's much more difficult. Much more difficult. I hear you, Tracy. And so that's why it's even more important for us to become fully present with those people and say, take off those hats, let go of that baggage and say, I'm appearing before you today with fresh eyes, with a fresh mind, with a fresh open heart. And I'm willing to explore things with you from a different perspective. And how beautiful is that? What a gift is that if somebody came to you and said the same thing. Somebody that was in relationship with you and came to me and said, Sue, I'm willing to take off old stuff and I'm willing to look at you with completely different eyes. And I'm willing to hear you as you are today and for who you are and what you are today. I mean, sure, what a gift if somebody said that to me. So imagine if we could give that same gift to our dogs and come in there with that beautiful open-minded, open-heartedness. So I think I've covered everything I wanted to say. Has anybody else got anything that they would like to share example-wise about, examples of having that notion of opening up different conversations? Okay, I can't see anything more in the comments there. But yeah, so having these conversations, it opens up beautiful possibilities. You never know what will come of them, come out of them. So thank you very much for being part of this conversation today. And I hope that it has opened your mind, opened your heart in a different way to see things. And remember that we can always restart that conversation. No matter what's happened in the past, we can always restart a conversation with a person or with our dogs in a different way. So wishing you all a wonderful, wonderful day, wonderful Tuesday. Go out there, spread some joy, spread some love. Give your dogs a hug and greet them with fresh eyes and a fresh open heart. So thank you again for being here, lovely people. I really appreciate you tuning in and allowing me the space to share my thoughts and my ideas with you all. So have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.